What's going on, guys? I'm Jay the Black. Shout out to everybody that's tuning in. I want to talk about this story that was sent to me from Yahoo. And it's about a married Japanese woman that gave up her baby after she found out the sperm donor, aka Smash Buddy, or side dude, temporary side dude, ended up not being the Japanese man that she thought he was. He was actually a Chinese man that was pretending to be a highly educated Japanese male from Japan, but he ended up being a fake. He had a whole fake identity, but he was actually a Chinese man pretending to be Japanese. He helped her have her baby. Her and her husband were struggling due to his hereditary issues, and they had relations 10 times. Now, I don't know what's going on here. I don't think we're getting the full story, but you mean to tell me you have this married couple, instead of them going to get artificially inseminated, she got physically inseminated by a young man that they met off of a dating website. I believe that's what they met him off of. And the husband allowed her to sleep with this man 10 times. 10 times. And now she wants to give up the child that she did all that work for because he wasn't the Japanese educated man she thought he was. Now, y'all got to look at it this way. He's a sperm donor, basically. And your husband allowed this guy to have relations with you 10 times. Okay, 10 until she got pregnant. Now, if this was an American couple and they got upset because they thought if somebody was Japanese, they actually ended up being Chinese and they wanted to give up the baby. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. Now, again, I don't know how she would have known that he wasn't Japanese. I mean, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm sure that if you're speaking Chinese or Japanese, maybe there's an accent. You can tell them apart. I don't know. But she could not tell that he wasn't Japanese. She looked at his profile and said, oh, here's a Japanese guy in his 20s who's educated, who physically looks the way that I want him to. So they brought him into the situation. And I guess his payment or reward was him being able to sleep with this married woman. Let's get into this article from Yahoo News. It says a woman in Japan filed a lawsuit against the sperm donor who impregnated her and alleging that he was dishonest about his civil status, educational background, and ethnicity. The unnamed plaintiff, a 30-year-old woman from Tokyo, says she and her husband wanted to have a second child but were concerned after finding out that her husband has an hereditary condition, according to Tokyo Shimbun via Newsweek. After deciding to use a sperm donor, they found a man in his 20s on social media who claimed to be a single Japanese man who graduated Kyoto University, one of Japan's top universities. After having relations with the donor 10 times, the woman finally became pregnant in June of 2019. So he wasn't who you thought he was. And you're suing him because you ended up getting finessed. She got finessed out of her box. And now she's mad. I believe she's giving up the child. She's suing him because she realized she got finessed. He was a Chinese guy pretending to be a highly educated Japanese guy. And she got finessed and she doesn't like it. And see, you can tell this woman runs that marriage. And I don't know what the marriage is like in Japan. I know that, there are men who call they're called the herbivore men who don't even deal with women. So maybe, she felt empowered. There are guys out there that may want to be with women. Maybe she felt in control of that relationship. I don't know. I don't know why this married man allowed his wife to do this. I don't know if they do. Like, do they allow women to be artificially inseminated? This is something that the wife wanted. She could have saved herself the trouble and gone through the right proper channels to do this, but she met this guy offline. She looked at his profile, looked at a picture of him, and she wanted to sleep with him to conceive that man's child. Okay. Now, what's interesting is if that guy was the man that she thought he was, what happens if her and her husband separated? She probably could go after that man for child support. The woman eventually discovered later on in the pregnancy that the donor is actually a married Chinese man who never attended Kyoto University. After giving birth, the woman and her husband gave up the baby, who is currently being cared for in a child center in Tokyo. That's sad, man. But again, this is what happens when you're out here playing sperm games, man. You probably could have found an authentic Japanese guy, maybe, you know. But again, y'all wanted to go search online. Now you find out he's a married Chinese guy. The woman is accused the donor of misleading her with false information to have relations with her. She is now seeking approximately $2.8 million in compensation for emotional distress. The only person who should get anything of emotional distress is the child, because of the idiotic decision of the mother and the stepdaddy, aka the husband. Under Japan's right to know laws, the offspring of sperm donors have a legal right to identify both of their biological parents, with many donors choosing to remain anonymous. Finding potential sperm donors in the country has become complicated because they don't want these women to come after them for child support. That's just my thinking. They don't want anything to do with the child. Under Japan, right through that. More couples in Japan have been turning to social media to look for sperm donors, and over 10,000 children have reportedly been born with a third-party involvement. We know what that is. The Mariah Life Research Institute opened Japan's first sperm bank last summer to provide a safer option for Japanese couples who are trying to conceive, reported Japan's Insider. The institute director, Dr. Hiroshi Okada, warned that unsupervised forms of insemination pose health risks and other dangers. Yeah, like this posed a whole lot of danger. You have a woman who really wanted to have a child badly. Now, I guess they didn't have a lot of sperm banks in Japan. They just opened up one, which is crazy. So you mean to tell me that 10,000 children were basically born out of cucking? The husbands were basically cucked. They allow men to screw their wives just so they can get pregnant. But I think this woman should have done more research into the type of man that she was actually dealing with. She met this man online, not a guy that she may have known. You know what's crazy? I was looking at a court show years ago, and there was a woman who was in a lesbian relationship. This is a black lesbian relationship. She wanted to have a child so bad that she asked her ex-boyfriend to do it. Her ex-boyfriend was like, I am not going to give you my sperm. If you want to have my child, we need to do it the old-fashioned way. And she, after arguing a little bit with him, she said she'll do it. She said that she would have relations with him just so she can conceive a child by him. She wanted that man's seed that badly. Out of all that guy is probably the reason why she was dating women. And for her to choose him, and he's like, oh no, we need to sleep together. We need to do it the old fashioned way. She agreed to it. And you can tell she probably wanted to get with him again, but this is probably an excuse if you really look at it, because she knew that dude wasn't just going to hand over his sperm like that. But yeah, man, I think this woman is just as responsible as this guy. Don't meet men off the internet. You know, actually do research before you actually hop into bed with them, because I don't know if she's going to win this case. Maybe she will, but you need to be careful next time. So let me know in the comment section below. Let me know your thoughts. Make sure you like this video and share it. Follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and I'll see y'all next one.